Greetings, this is Sam from signNow support. Today we are going to discuss edit document endpoint and how to utilize it in your API workflows. So to test the functionality and to show how everything works, we will be using our signNow documentation. We'll be also using our sandbox account, and we will be once again using Postman to send out calls and receive responses from our API. So I guess we should proceed with general information and how it looks in the user interface. So the edit document endpoint allows you to add fields or text into the document and either sign the document via API or prepare the document for someone else to sign. So usually it is utilized if you uploaded a new document and you want to add some fields to the document before sending it out for the signer. So let's show how it works and how it looks like in the user interface. So here we have our test document. Okay, yeah, just was a bit low quality document. So we can add a signature field. For example, we can see that we have add fields for recipients part in here, and those are the fields that we add to the document so that someone else would sign it. And we'll also have the fill out myself section, or as we call it, editing section. This allows you to sign the document on your own. So it looks, for example, like this. It's a test signature. Via API, you can replicate this behavior, and you can basically send out different calls to either prepare a document for someone else or sign the document on your own. So how would we do that? We should proceed to the documentation and can see that we have a request sample in here. We'll just take it and paste in our Postman software. Go for import, raw text, paste it, and continue. So you can see that our call is already here. We can see that it has a lot of different fields. We can see we have required field, that is a text field. And if we use this call here right away to a specific document, we should be able to see how it works on this document, for example. So we have a document ID. You can actually take it from the URL, and you can use it in your Postman calls. So for example, I have edit document call. It is my own call from the Postman collection that we share for every user. So as you can see here, we need to specify a document ID that we would need to edit. And in here, in the payload, I guess we can look at it like this, we can have a lot of different options. So the edit document call is one of the biggest calls that are even possible to send to our API. This is due to each field having different parameters, such as required parameters, such as XY, which is where the field will be placed, the width and height of the field, the page number for the field, the role for this specific field. So for example, you can have different fields for different persons on your document. So you can have signer 1 and signer 2 and 3 and so on. You can have this field required, and you can also need to specify a type of this field. So it can be signature field, text field, anything, any type of field that you can see in the user interface. So I guess we can actually just send it right away and check. Yes, if it was successful, you can see that the status is 200. So the call is successful. We can go to the user interface and basically reload the page and check what kind of field we've added. So as you can see here, we have a signature field and a sample, a text field, as far as I remember, right? Yeah, a sample label field. It's a text field. So in a nutshell, any edit document call will look something like this. The only difference would be that you have a lot of, you could have a lot more fields than just those two. But for examples, we will obviously be using only a couple of fields or text actually. So I guess we should proceed to the text section. And for the text part, what we would need is to go to our documentation once again and find information about the fields that I want to add. Because it will not be actually the fields that we will be adding, it will be editing that we will be doing to the document. So for example, you can see in here that we have general information that we have texts, signatures, checks, and other stuff, depending on what you may need. But to get full information about the fields, we actually have a part in our Features tab that is called Field. And in here, we have a lot of information about the fields. So in case you have any issues with positioning, with basically, if you don't fully understand how it works or how it's supposed to work, you can go to the documentation, and in most of the cases, it will be shown in the documentation. So what I mean for our further testing is we need to edit information onto the document. So right now you can see we have fields on the document, but we didn't sign the document on our own. So for example, if we want to sign the document, just like print our name or something, we can actually use kind of the same call here, but we may need to do some changes. For that, I would actually use a premade that I have that is just edit and sign document, and I will explain all the differences between those two calls. So the endpoint for this call is exactly the same. It is an edit document call, so it's a put call to the same URL. It will be using the same document ID for our situation. You can see it in here. And apart from the document ID, the change would be to the array of information that we will be adding to the document. So in here, you can see that we are adding fields to the document. In our new call, we will be adding texts to the document. The texts, the only difference between the text and fields, basically, is that the text is not only something with coordinates, but also something with data in it. So for the text field, it will be, for example, Sam from signNow. And that's actually all there is to it. So the only thing we need to do is to send the call out. We need to receive an OK status. We can see that the text were added as our account email. And once we reload the page, we should be able to see the text here. As you can see, here it is. So what we can also spot is that we added information onto the document. We've edited information onto the document, but the fields were not removed. And this is the main difference between edit document call and other calls. Because we are using a put method that overrides all of the content prior to its input, your fields will be removed. So for example, if you use the edit document call and you will add, for example, new fields, it will not be adding new fields, but rather overriding new fields. So you can see that once we reload the page, the previous fields were basically overridden. And because we've changed the XY parameter, it added a new field 1 and 2. So it is something to pay attention to, because you cannot add fields sequentially. You need to add them in one call. And that's why you will have a big edit document call if you want to, if you want to prepare one document for signing. So we should proceed to the next step. The next step would be to check how would we get the XY parameters, and also how can we use other calls to get information from the document so that you can add fields more precisely. So the next call that basically comes with the edit document call is get document call. In the documentation, we can see it in the documents part. You can see it, it's the first call here, get document call. It is a pretty straightforward call. You just get some information from the document. And for that, you would need document ID and your bearer token. So you can see once we paste it here, we will get some information from the document. So first of all, what we need to understand is that this payload does not transfer one-to-one to the put document call, because the XY parameters, not the XY parameter, but the full payload cannot be copy pasted. The parameters, though, they can be used in your calls. So what I mean by that is that XY parameter basically allows us to take it. For example, we have fields, we have a sample label field, and we have X and Y parameter for those fields. If you want your document to be prepared precisely according to the user interface, you would need to do the operation like this. You will need to, first of all, add fields to the document, like, for example, like this. Let's say it's all we need for this document. So we have 2 text fields and a signature field. And once you have it, you would need to save this information onto the document. The next step would be to get information as an API call. And once you get the information, you will go to the fields part of the payload that you received, and you will see XY width height that you can just copy from the get document call and paste it in the edit document call. Something like this. Doesn't look as pretty, but it's pretty straightforward. So what it allows you to do is to place the fields via API and to place them in a specific XY parameter. This option here is the only option you have if you want to precisely put the fields onto your document. They need to be specified, and they need to be somehow you need to tell via API where exactly do you want the fields if you're not opening the field via user interface at all. And it allows you to prepare a document that will be one-to-one like this. So we will not be sending this call. We can actually, just so, but it will override the fields once again. So as I reload the page, we will only see 2 fields, and we will see one text field that was here, and the signature field we moved via user interface. All right, so I wanted to discuss just one more case before ending up the video, and that would be to clarify how to add your information not only with text, but also your own signature to the document. Meaning, how can I sign the document via API? So for that, we will need to use a get document endpoint, and basically to gather the signature from the already existing and signed document and paste the signature in the new document. So how it is done? Basically, we will need the same call in here, but we will need information from the call, from the get document call. So what we will be doing first, we will be adding my signature to the document, and we will need to save this document because we would need this signature as data. So we just save it and close. And we use the get document call to get information about the document we've just saved. So in here, we can see there is a lot of information, but what we need is we need signatures array of information, as you can see it here. So we have signatures array of information. We can see all of the data such as x, y parameters, width, height, etc. But the most important is what we need here is data. You can see this data here. It is basically our signature. So we would need to take this data and use our edit and sign call to paste this data onto the document. So how we will do that is we will take this data here like this. We'll go to the same edit and document call, and we will need to use not texts but signatures. We will need to change up the data like this. We need to change it like this and like this. All right, and we will also need to add width and height, because as you can see here, we have those parameters in the get document call, but we don't have those parameters in here. So we would need to add them. Actually, we can just copy paste them like this. We can just take copy and paste like this. So actually, we can also change this just so that we definitely have the signature on another place. So let's just go for any XY parameters. And I think that's about it. So once I send out the call, we should be able to see not one signature on the document. Let's just open the document actually again. As you can see, we have one signature in here, and we'll also have two fields and one text. So, all right, and we should send it out to check if we did everything correctly. So we will need to reload the document once again, and you can see we have one signature here and also one here that was here previously. So what we've done basically is we've taken an encoded signature from our service via the get document call. We've added some required parameters. We've changed the array of data that is being added to the document. So instead of text, we added signature. Actually, the get document provides a lot more arrays that can be on the document. And this get document call can be checked and tested with your own kind of data. So as you can see, we have text here, we have signatures, here we have fields, we have radio buttons, and so on and so on. So basically, we can have different types of arrays added to the document via the put call, and you can copy all of the information from the get document call, most of the information from the get document call, and use it in your own put document call. So as a conclusion, we can basically say that the edit document call can be used to add any kind of information, fields or editable information to the document. And it allows you to basically either prepare the document for someone else to sign and add numerous fields to those documents via precise parameters, or you can sign your own document and edit some information onto the document so that it is considered signed. And that's all I wanted to discuss for today. Thank you for your time. Have a great day.